So yeah, in this video, I'm gonna be taking a lot of L's. But I gotta do what I gotta do. I mean, I gotta be real to myself and just say, honestly, The Last of Us Part 2 is not a masterpiece. Hey everyone, how you doing today and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to be talking about why I think The Last of Us Part 2 is not a masterpiece. And funnily enough, I had a review of The Last of Us, which I probably think it's up here, and I stated that this game is a masterpiece. So yeah, that was kind of L from Divey, so L number 1 already ticked off the list. And I'm going to give you my opinions on why, and I'm going to tell you what I think about the game, and I just want to give you a little background here and my overall thoughts of this game. Now, when I first reviewed the game, it was straight after I finished the game, and I was thinking to myself, wow, amazing, one of the best games I've ever played, wow, crazy, like I was over the moon. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? And I was really hyped because of how I thought it was, and how I was really, what's the word? I think it's subjective towards the fact that this was The Last of Us Part 2, and Last of Us is one of my favorite games ever, and I liked the way they did it. Now, after I put up the review and I really thought about it logically, I sat down and I was looking through the other games where I would consider a 10 out of 10, and I was like, wow, like I'm putting this on the same league as God of War, Breath of the Wild, even the original Last of Us. And I was like, all right, yeah, fair enough, that makes sense. And I was like, does it? Like, you know, when you sit down and you think about it logically, and I was like, if I was to give it a 10 out of 10, I'll be like, this is like the lowest 10 out of 10 I could probably ever give it in my life. Because I was starting to really sit down and like process it. Like, wow, The Last of Us 2, a 10 out of 10 game. Like, what I consider a 10 out of 10 are games that legit either change gaming or are so perfect in terms of one of the aspects they do that it really deserves a 10 out of 10. So for example, Breath of the Wild, the open world design and the gameplay is game changing in my opinion, and it's top tier. God of War, the story is flipping incredible, and the one-shot motion that they did to take to record the whole game is flipping amazing, incredible, and obviously both of them are beautiful as well. And yeah, 10 out of 10. The Last of Us Part 1, right? And here's where it really kicked me in the butt about The Last of Us Part 2 and what I said in my review. So The Last of Us Part 1 has one of the best stories I've ever seen, period, right? Accompanied with beautiful graphics that were game changing for the PS3, which was the PS3 to the limit. Incredible score, well written characters, and characters they really were attached to. Everything about that game just screamed perfection. And when I can look at The Last of Us Part 2, I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's on the same league as any of those games. And even giving it a 10 out of 10, not even just a 10 out of 10, even giving it a 9.5, I feel like might be a little much. I even looked at the games that I gave a 9.5 out of 10, well, what I would give a 9.5 out of 10, and I look at Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man PS4 basically, Uncharted 4, Super Mario Odyssey, all these games, you know what I mean? And I look at them and I compare that to The Last of Us Part 2, and I'm like, is The Last of Us Part 2 even a 9.5 out of 10? Like, I really wish I really sat down and like analyzed this game before I did my review. Like, I just did the review straight afterwards and just spewed my thoughts on the game. And to be fair, a lot of the opinions that I have on the game are very valid. Like, I'm not going to take away anything from that review because those are my thoughts and impressions. I just think that those thoughts and impressions don't warrant it a 10 out of 10, and I regret giving this game a 10 out of 10 because I don't think it is a 10 out of 10 by a mile. Like, it really hit me when I could sit down and list like over 50 games that are better than The Last of Us Part 2, maybe even 100 I could probably think of, and it's just, there are reasons why I think The Last of Us Part 2 is not a 10 out of 10, and let me just get to that, I guess, rather than spewing my rambles and thoughts and impressions about why this game is not a 10 out of 10 in terms of rating it compared to other games. But let's talk about why The Last of Us Part 2 is not a 10 out of 10 game. The thing about The Last of Us Part 1, as I stated, is that the main reason why it's a 10 out of 10 game is because it's one of the best stories I've ever seen ever. So when you come into the sequel to The Last of Us Part 2, it's only right that you expect the story to at least be of a similar quality. And as much as I like the story a lot in this game, like I said in my review, I don't think this story warrants this game a 10 out of 10. And I don't think the story is a 10 out of 10. Like, the story is very good, and I would say it's, even saying it was well written was kind of an L from me as well. It's not well written, like it could have been way better, let's be real, but it was a very good story in my opinion in what they were trying to tell with Ellie and Abby. My problem is it could have been done way better, and you have to look at how they took care of the characters in the story. And when you look at how Joel was treated, you start to take a step back and realize that this story, it has a lot of missteps. It has a lot of missteps, I'm not gonna lie. Like, for example, the treatment of Joel is a big misstep, let's be real. Like, yeah, I get what they were trying to portray, and well, spoilers by the way if anyone didn't know already, but the way that Joel was killed, it just it wasn't it. Like, it could have, like, what I would have done in the story is that I would have probably killed Joel towards the middle or towards maybe the end of the game. That would have hit home more than just starting up the game and Joel just dies out of the blue. And even Joel as the character himself, when you think about it, Joel was a lot more stupid in this game than in the first game, and that's not like Joel. I mean, I understand if he was stupid in terms of because of Ellie, but this one was just plain stupidity. And I'm not trying to get at Naughty Dog or anything for this, but it's just something I noticed. Like, for example, when Joel and Tommy and Abby are together, Joel and Tommy start giving information about where they live, their location, and how it's like down there in a little bit. And I'm like, why would you do that to people you just met? When in The Last of Us Part 1, Joel would never do that. Joel would never do that. He would be cautious of anyone, even if they were like his best friends. Like, I think he was even cautious of Tommy, if I think back to it. So why is his character not as like proficient as he was in the first game? You know what I mean? So in that sense, it doesn't really seem like a flow of continuation of a narrative on his arc. It just feels like they started this game and his arc was trash. Like, you know what I mean? And it wasn't a big thing for me when I was playing the game, but when I sit down and deep it, it's a very big thing, because Joel was the main character. Well, Joel and Ellie, but Joel was the guy who you controlled for most of the first game, so it's only right that he's treated a lot better, especially when you invested so many hours in this character. Also, Ellie in this game wasn't that likable. I mean, she's likable because she's Ellie. She wasn't likable because of what she did in the game. And I get that she's meant to do some heartbreaking stuff that's meant to make you question her morality, but when you think about like Ellie's progression, like everything about Ellie that we like is just her as a kid. Everything about Ellie as an adult is just like unnecessarily depressing, and it's just not Ellie. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, you've lost your relationship with Joel, but like, I don't see why Ellie should be unhappy, especially in the beginning of the game before Joel died, obviously. In that way, like, Ellie was such a bubbly, fun, like bouncy girl. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell happened between her at 14 and 19? Did finding out about the fact that she was meant to die in the Fireflies really like make her like not happy? Like, what? I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, if I'm misinterpreting what they're trying to perceive in terms of Ellie's character, but I don't see why she should be that downbeat, if that makes sense. Like, I get her being downbeat, but that downbeat, I don't know about that. Now she's just a very like minimalistic talking type of person, except like when she wants to get the job done. It's just not Ellie, you know? I might be just overdoing it with that. I might just be nitpicking in that sense, but those are some of the big reasons why I think, okay, yeah, in terms of narrative, this already isn't a 10 out of 10. In terms of the actual narrative of the game, that's the big meat of why this story isn't that spectacular, in the sense that oh, you didn't see my hand go up, that's spectacular. Yeah, it's very muddled. So you start the game, you play as Abby for a bit, you're like, who's this girl? She kills Joel, who you've invested so many hours in, and then you're meant to halfway through the game start caring about Abby, and that's hard to do. And in all honesty, if it wasn't for Yara and Lev, I probably wouldn't care about Abby like that. I mean, she killed Joel, like, you know what I mean? Like, that is a huge thing, and it's really hard as the player to invest in Abby when she's killed your beloved like character. Granted, I do understand Abby's motivations. I get it. Joel killed her dad. I get it. But it would have been better if, let's say, you brought up or you built up Abby's character for a minute, then she killed Joel. You know what I mean? Rather than her killing Joel in the beginning, because you hate her from the get-go. Like, if you're either gonna somewhat like her or hate her, period, throughout the whole game, because you keep on flashing back to the fact that she killed Joel. And yeah, it's a relentless, heartless world that we live in as well. So her dad getting killed by Joel is kind of standard in the Last of Us world when you think about it. Like, at first I was thinking, ooh, that's deep, but I thought about it and I'm like, this is standard Last of Us. Like, people's families obviously get killed. Like, that's just a consequence of just the world they live in. So why are they making us like try and feel so bad for a girl whose dad was the casualty of Joel's selfish actions, to be fair? Yeah, it's a hard one when you think about it, and I understand why people would not like Abby in that sense. Also, I didn't think, compared to Abby's story, Ellie's story, I didn't like it that much compared to Abby's story. And I'm gonna be real here, like I said, Abby's story is better to me than Ellie's story, even though it's hard to like Abby because, you know, you're pissed off with her because she killed Joel. But Ellie's story, like, it's not, I don't know, it doesn't feel much of a complete story to me. Okay, so here's how Ellie's story went in my mind. So story is Ellie is in Jackson, Joel gets killed, she's like, all right, let's kill all of them, goes to Seattle and goes to kill all of them, but then Abby's left and Tommy's like, listen, don't kill Abby, like, you're gonna die at this rate, everyone's looking for you. Fine. Ellie goes out, sees Abby, and then Abby beats the crap out of her because you play as Abby, who you do not like, and you're forced to beat Ellie, who you kind of like from the first game, well, you loved in the first game, kind of like in this one. And at the end of all that, Ellie's finally happy and she decides to go after Abby again to go to California, which I did not think that like, even in my original review, I said that that's probably the weakest part of the game, is the ending section. And then what else again? So you go to California to go on this manhunt to go and kill Abby, only to end the game without killing Abby. What was the point of going to California at that point? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it just feels like, why did I use this time to, like, what was the reason why Ellie can't kill Abby at that point? You've gone all this way, sacrificed your family, you sacrificed your life to go and kill Abby, and then you go at the end and let her walk away? What? I'm killing her then and there. Like, come on. Like, if I was in Ellie's shoes, she's dead, because I've used all this time and energy and hatred to go and kill Abby and she's still alive. And I think that would have even been a better ending, because you'd played as Abby and maybe you'd feel some remorse because Abby is now getting killed by Ellie and Ellie's getting her revenge, but you're like, whoa, I've been through Abby's story and I kind of understand where she's coming from. I don't want her to die either, you know what I mean? But then when she died, you'd be like, damn, like, Abby's died. Like, something like that. That would have made more sense in my opinion. Like, these are all faults in the story, and granted, I really like the story. Don't get it twisted. I really like the story. Like, I have problems with the story that makes me realize that I can't say this game is a 10 out of 10, because you come into a Last of Us Part 2 for the story. That's the main reason you come to a Last of Us Part 2 game. Yeah, the gameplay was amazing, and the gameplay has elevated the Last of Us Part 2, but another thing, the gameplay, it's amazing, but it's not like, you know, a 10 out of 10 worthy gameplay. Like, it's not a Metal Gear Solid 5 or a Breath of the Wild type gameplay. It's just really good. That's it. Like, it's fun, it's really good, right? But it's like if you were to give the gameplay out of 10, maybe like, what, a 9? I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, you know what I mean? Like, it's not game-changing gameplay. So when you look at the game overall, what is masterpiece quality in this game apart from the graphics and probably the directing and the acting? I can't think of anything masterpiece quality. And you can have amazing acting, but if you don't have a story to back it up, it's now like, you know, all right, cool, you hired all this talent, but you didn't like utilize them to the best of their ability. That's what it feels like to me. And I'm not trying to like trash on Naughty Dog, because Naughty Dog are amazing, and granted, this game is still an amazing game in my opinion, but I can't give it a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10 after thinking about it and actually analyzing the game and actually looking at myself and thinking, does this game actually make sense? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was when it hit me that I really overhyped this game, and I really like gave the game a stupidly high score. Like, what was I thinking? That's what hit me the last like couple days. I was like, wow, a 10 out of 10 for that. Like, you know what I mean? And looking at Ghost of Tsushima, for example, looking at how that game is panning out, that looks more of a 10 out of 10 than how The Last of Us played, even though I mean I could probably say the same about The Last of Us with the trailers, but that's how I feel about that game compared to this one. I will apologize for any of my 20 viewers that watched the review and made their decisions on the game, but I'm still learning in terms of this review process, and I feel like with games like The Last of Us, I need more time to process it, and I probably should have just had the extra time to just review it better than to just like post it because I just wanted to post it quickly, you know what I mean? So that's where I take my L, and I'll take my L's. I'm gonna leave the video up because like it's just a little learning curve for me, and I don't mind, but yeah, this is kind of a it's more of a rant and a just spew than a review. But if I was like looking back at everything, if I was to give this game a score out of 10, I would actually drop it to an 8.5, because that makes sense. I mean, it's a great game, right? It's a great game, and the gameplay is amazing, and the graphics is amazing, the soundtrack is amazing, the acting is amazing, the story is actually really good, but like the game overall, I can't say it's an amazing game. I've seen games that have either better gameplay, like way better gameplay, that has gotten like a 9 out of 10, or in my opinion, by the way, or I've seen this game have a way better story that's gotten like a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10 in my opinion. Like, look at Spider-Man, for example, right? And it's harsh to compare games again, but look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man has an incredible story and incredible gameplay, and that's a 9.5 out of 10 for me. So how can I give The Last of Us the same thing, or even a 9, if the Spider-Man can do that? Or look at Fire Emblem, for example. The story is really good, probably even better than The Last of Us Part 2 story, but it's really good, and it has sweet gameplay, and that's a 9 out of 10 for me. So you see what I mean? That's why I'm giving it like an 8.5. That's fair enough to me. I mean, it's one of those games that you can play. I mean, should play is a hard word as well, because okay, yeah, you should play it because it's actually really good, but I feel like it's more of one of those games that you can play than you should play, because it does take a lot of what went well in The Last of Us Part 1 and it does bring it down, I'm not gonna lie. But because of how solid the gameplay is, and the story is good, I'm gonna reiterate this, I think the story is really good, it's just not top tier. Like, there's a lot of problems that makes it bad, for like not top tier. Bad is a strong word, like not top tier. So I would say like the story to me would be like a good 7 out of 10. Like, it shows you morals, like, you know, you kill someone, someone's gonna be taken away. It's a moral story, like it's one of those ones that you can look back and be like, all right, cool, I've learned something from this, but it's not executed to the best of it could have been. It could have been executed way better, but yeah, that's just how I feel about it. And it sounds like I'm being wish-washy about my review from the first one, but it was just after really sitting down and thinking about this game, I just had to be real. Like, when I was playing this game, a lot of the times I was like, all right, cool, come on, like, this is actually great. You know, when you psych yourself up being like, oh no, this game's amazing, this game's amazing. But man, thinking about it, being real, yeah, it's a bit of a letdown compared to the first game, but I wouldn't say it's a bad sequel. I think it's actually a very good game. It's just, I think it's a great game. Let me be real and just use the right language. I think it's a great game. I just don't think it's a masterpiece. It's not an amazing game, in all honesty. And this was one of those games that was going to be divisive, and I get it now why it's so divisive. It's so hard to get an opinion on this game and be like 100% definitive, but I think I have my definitive answer now for this game, and yeah, 8.5 just fits it so well. But anyway, that was my re-review, or just my talk and my spew of The Last of Us Part 2. What do you think about The Last of Us Part 2? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comment section. I'm open to discussion. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies again. I will do better in my reviews. Trust me, I will take the time if I need to take the time, and I will try and analyze it a lot better and be a lot more objective than subjective. So yeah, thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day. All right, see you later.